Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today in Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Xavier. We're very excited to have you joining us this morning. I have a great show in store for you. I think it'll be both informative and festive.
Yes,
at the
definitely.
same time, we're going to have, in a few moments, we're going to have Hope McCutcheon. She is the CEO and founder of CVille Capital Partners. There's a local entrepreneur, a local small business doing talent recruitment.
Wow.
So that's fantastic, and we're going to talk with her a little bit about the job market and what she's seeing there, and her story about how she started this small business. And then later on in the show, we're going to be joined by Glomski, the founder of Vitae Spirits, to talk about the First Street Holiday Fair and some new offerings in the Christmas spirit, in the holiday spirit from Vitae. Of course, we always appreciate being here on the I Love CVille Network. We always appreciate being sponsored by Emergent Financial Services, by Vitae Spirits, by CVille Picnic, by GBS Financial Services, and by Cristel Noel State Farm Agency. And of course, we're always glad to partner with Forward Adelante, the premier Latino networking group here in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I know we got a lot in store today, a lot that's been going on, but one thing we wanted to talk about is because, this is the time of year, I think, that people often think about, all right, what do I need to do to sort of prepare for next year? What are some of the things I should be thinking about? Not necessarily just from a retirement perspective, but from a financial perspective as we get ready for those New Year's resolutions. It's like, well, is there anything I have to do before December 31st? And one of the things we like to talk to people about is just thinking ahead.
I was just going to say something, before we get into that. If you notice, I'm starting to wear the festive colors here, right? It's December 2nd. It's Christmas time, right? Which, I love Christmas. I love the lights.
Season.
Absolutely. Just the idea of the festivities, the lights, the aromas of the Christmas trees, and just see all the decorations go up. It's just a great time of year. I think, certainly for me it is, and hopefully it's the case for everybody.
All the lights are starting to come up.
Yes. I think there's a lighting too coming up.
There's a grand illumination coming up, of course, as well as
so that's coming
fairs,
up soon. So I'm very excited about that, and without any doubt, yes, as you mentioned, it's unfortunately at the end of the year we also have to start thinking about some things, which is one of them is the tax consequences, right? And as you get to the end of the year, you have a better idea as to what your taxes are going to be that year. And one of the things that we've been discussing, and I know we've been talked a lot with our clients about this, is the fact that tax rates are probably the lowest they'll be maybe for a long period of time. I'm not sure tax rates are going to continue to go down, but if anything, they'll probably begin to rise. And so one of the things that one can think about is, what do I do about that? Can I take advantage of that? And one of the things that we've looked at is the possibility of turning your traditional IRA into a Roth IRA. And I know we've talked a little bit about in the past about the difference between the traditional IRA and the Roth RIA. And as many of you probably know, but if you don't, the major difference, they're both retirement funds, and they both grow tax-free. However, the difference is that in the traditional IRA, usually when you put money in there, you save taxes immediately when you put money into your traditional.
And then you pay taxes when you take it out in the future.
Exactly. And the Roth, it's the opposite. You don't save any money today when you put money into a Roth, right? But when you take money out, when you're retired, you don't have to pay any taxes. So the question you have to ask yourself is, are taxes lower today than they'll be when I retire? And if that's the case, maybe the advantage would be to take a portion of your traditional IRA, or all of it. It depends on again, the tax situation, and turn that into a Roth. Now, once again, this is a question that you and your tax consultant should think about, your CPA or whoever does your taxes, because you obviously don't want that conversion to push you into a higher tax bracket, right? If that's the case.
Because the conversion is a taxable event. That's basically
correct.
The key. When you're converting a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, you're saying, I'm willing to pay taxes on this entire amount of this year, the amount that I'm converting this year, so that in the future, when I withdraw these funds from my Roth IRA, I will not pay taxes. But it's a taxable event this year. So the key is to talk with your tax advisor and say, okay, what are the implications of doing it this year? what kind of tax bracket am I in this year? If you're already in a high one, obviously it may make less sense.
Yeah, exactly. No, it doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. But if you're in a low tax bracket this year, you can say, all right, what if I put myself in a position now where in the future I now have some part of my retirement savings that are tax free? That when I pull on those, when I take those out of my account to pay my expenses in retirement, I'm not paying any taxes on that funds.
And even if you're retired, I mean, one of the things, probably retirees, I mean, let's say you retired last year or a couple of years ago, and you have a large portion in traditional IRAs, you're already in a lower tax bracket if you're not having any income. In other words, if you're not working and don't have large income, this may be a good opportunity also. So this is not just for people that are still in the workforce. As a matter of fact, I would say people in the workforce, it has to be a situation where, for whatever reason, maybe this wasn't a great year, and it's an opportunity to say, since I didn't make a lot of money maybe this year, it's a great opportunity to convert, because once again, you don't want to push yourself into a higher tax bracket. However, if you're retired, this may be an opportunity for you to say, okay, this is a great time for me to take a piece of my traditional IRA, right, and turn it into a Roth IRA, so that when I finish, because remember, at 72, there's a required minimum distribution out of traditional IRAs, which don't exist for a Roth. What does that mean? That means that the government automatically and forces you to take some money out of your traditional IRAs. And there's a formula for that,
whether
right?
you need it or not.
Exactly. So the issue is that's the first source that you go to when you retire. Once you hit 72, since you have to take that money out, you take that money out first, right? And you don't have to take it out of Roth. So in today's environment, if you're not 72 yet and you have the opportunity or the possibility to really switch from your tradition to your Roth, it may be a good idea. So again, as we say, this is something that you need to discuss with your tax advisor, or maybe your financial advisor, and see whether it makes sense for you to do that. But it's year-end tax planning, and everybody should think about what year-end looks like with respect to their taxes. What can I do maybe to reduce the tax burden? And maybe this is one way that you may not reduce it this year, but you're going to reduce it next year and the year after, from a perspective that there's a good probability that taxes are going up.
Exactly. That's just one of those things that sometimes, I mean, granted, we all don't want to really think about taxes till April 15th approaches.
It's a little late by then.
Right, but it's a little late by then. So the key is sometimes you have to think about it a little earlier to which also I think gives you that breathing room to know, okay, I have my things in order. I have a good idea of what needed to be done. I have now January, February, March to accomplish this, which needs to be done, which I think just makes the whole tax season much less stressful. Because you're not sitting there in April saying, I should have done this, I needed to do that. You're giving yourself the time to implement any strategies that need to take place in January, February, March by thinking about them ahead of time.
Well, we all know the IRS is our partner, right? So we just want to make sure that our partner gets their the least amount of share that they can possibly get. That's the way I look at it, right?
Amen.
Well, I mean, exactly. I mean, that's the goal. You don't want to have to pay more than you have to.
Well,
by law, especially since these
yes.
things are designed for that purpose, right?
That's right.
We're not encouraging you to pay less by cheating on your taxes.
No. And in essence, you're going to pay a little more this year,
and you'll pay a little more this
whatever
year.
It's the question
it's
is
deciding, taking advantage of the rules that the IRS has put in place to assist you with retirement by saying, all right, I'm willing to pay taxes now so I can forego paying them later. And it's there for that precise purpose. That's
exactly.
That's why the Roth conversion exists.
And it's part of planning. It's part of saying, what do I do this year, right? That may benefit me next year or 10 years from now or 5 years from now, whatever that may be. And again, yes, let's call it what it is. It's a slight bet, right? Again, it's a bet that tax rates are going to be higher in the future, but I think everything.
It's an educated guess.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
It's not just flip a coin. They're going to be higher in the future. Let me put it to. It's saying, okay, given where they are now, what's the direction they're most likely to go?
Exactly. Exactly, and the fact is the lower tax brackets are pretty low, so it's probably not a bad idea to say, this is a good opportunity for me. I'm willing to forego a little bit this year, pay a little extra this year, and knowing that in the years to come, I'm not going to have that challenge anymore. Right?
Exactly.
That's not going to be a problem, right?
So it's just the planning and the thinking ahead,
Yeah.
and sort of thinking. I mean, we always like to encourage people to have that sort of planning mentality.
Yeah.
Of saying, let me think about things now so that I'm not in a position where I need to think about them in a rushed or stressful way later. And that's really what financial planning is all about. I mean, in retirement planning, it's thinking about things a little earlier than you would otherwise, so that when that time comes, you're in a good position, right? And there's not that stressful, I need to think about this now. I'm going to retire in 2 years. I haven't even logged into Social Security. So just thinking about things in advance to make those decisions easier and to make them less stressful.
Exactly. And it's not for everybody, right? And that's why you have to look at your particular case and say, does this work for me? And if it does, you do it. And if it doesn't, fine. At least you did your homework. You did what you were supposed to do, and you go forward.
Oh, for a lot of people, the answer will be no. Like, you're asking the question, is a Roth conversion, is one of these tax strategies right for me? But for some people, the answer is yes, but for some people, the answer is going to be no. And that's a good thing, because now you know. You know, okay, here's where I am, relatively speaking, and this is why this strategy doesn't make sense right now. But then you also now know the conditions under which it might make sense in the future. So that in one day, if you're in that lower tax bracket, you have a certain year where you've dropped for whatever reason, you can sit there and say, oh, that strategy I thought about then that didn't work. Maybe this is the year that's a viable strategy for me.
Exactly. No, that's good. I just wanted to make sure that, again, it's the beginning of December. You can't wait till December 31st to start thinking about this, because the rollover has to occur this year.
The conversion has to
occur this year, and then you have 60 days to move the money. But the conversion has to occur this year. So once again, it's important to think about it. If you want to do it, you have 28 days to go, 29, whatever maybe.
29 days to go, 29 plus 2, yep. Exactly.
December 2nd, yeah.
Doing a little math there in my head to make sure I have it correctly. Just always things to be thinking about as whether you're an employer or an employee, to be thinking about this and the options that you can take.
Exactly.
Yeah. And speaking of that relationship between employers and employees, my not so subtle segue to our first guest. We're really excited to welcome to the show today Hope McCutcheon. She is the CEO and the founder of CVille Capital Partners LLC, doing a boutique recruiting and talent acquisition firm here in Charlottesville. Hope, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Hope.
We're very excited to have you on the show with us this morning.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Oh, you already, wow. We haven't even started. You have some commenters. Ryan Parks says good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon.
And he's
good morning.
He's a little excited. He's a little ahead of it. He's so excited for the afternoon that he's a little ahead of himself there. But good morning, Ryan. Thanks for watching the show today. So, I mean, for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into the business of recruitment and talent acquisition and connecting people.
Yeah. Well, I am from the area. I guess I would say I'm a townie. I've grown up here since I was 8 in and around Charlottesville, and went to UVA and decided to stay in town. And I ended up in banking and finance. So I was a commercial lender for about 12 years, and really got to know business from a different perspective. You know, really got to work closely with small business owners here in Charlottesville pretty intimately. Understanding the financials and just how business works. And I ended up making a career change into recruiting about 4 years ago. I recruited for a financial firm, actually, and it was fun and challenging, and I learned so much. I am appreciative of that company for just giving me that opportunity to make that career change. And what I saw, we sought after career changers, actually, and passive job seekers. And during that, I was surprised at how many people were open to a conversation, but their resume wasn't out there. And, you know, I thought about how, wow, that's probably a big gap here. There's probably a lot of really great employees that would make a change, but they're not putting their resume out. They're not wanting to necessarily, it's a small town, and do that. And on the other hand, there's probably great employers that are looking for them that don't know how to find them because they're not on job boards or whatever. And really saw the opportunity to make that connection. And by nature, I'm definitely a connector. I'm a networker. I've gotten my last 4 or 5 jobs through networking. My resume is not updated since who knows how many jobs ago. I'm kind of proud of that, but just through networking. So I know the power of that. And so I started my company because I saw an opportunity to just bridge the employers and the potential employees. And it's kind of a who you know town, so I want it to be who people know.
What would you say are some of the advantages of doing it as your own boutique firm, as opposed to like working for someone else? Like, what do you feel about what's the joy of entrepreneurship?
Oh man, I can call the shots. I love that. I mean, it's one of the best decisions I've made. Especially, I started my company about 6 months before the pandemic started.
Wow.
And so I loved that I could navigate that season and decide what companies I worked with. I didn't have to pressure any companies, I felt like if I worked for someone else, there might be some, pressure to do a certain amount of work or close a certain number of contracts. But when it's my own company, I know that if I don't do the work, I'm not going to get paid. And I'm obviously driven by that. But I love just being able to decide, and I'm super flexible. If a company wants to do something a different way, I can decide, does that make sense to do that? Do I want to do that? Do I want to negotiate the contract this way? Or do I want to go into this industry or give this a try? So I think just making the decisions has been the coolest part for me, at least.
Absolutely.
Now, do you reach out to companies when they're in order to tell them that you are a recruiter, or do you how does it work? How does people get in contact with you and say, this is the person I want to send my resume to? And is it mostly local, or is it like countrywide?
So do you mean on the company side or on the candidate side?
Kind of both sides, right? Because you work with both, right?
Yeah,
okay.
I do. So on the company side, it's a lot of just networking. It's very organic how I found my clients and the companies that I serve. It's a lot of just the relationships that I already have in the community, or word of mouth. And so I'm thankful that I haven't had to do any traditional advertising. It's just pretty organic. On the candidate side, I do a lot of old school boots to the ground networking, calling up people I know in an industry and saying, hey, I'm looking for somebody else in your industry. Who should I talk to? That's what I had done with the financial firm. Was very successful with that. And what is built into that strategy is a character reference. It's ultimately built in. So I can feel very confident when I then pass that candidate on to a company that I know the person that referred that person. So that's one strategy I do a lot. And then, of course, just using different resources to access platforms, whether it's LinkedIn or whatever, to find candidates that may be both actively looking and not actively looking. I also get a lot of inbound referrals where people are like, hey, I'm looking, or my friend is looking for an opportunity. And so just building my database, so my own internal database in that regard.
Do you ever find yourself where you actually call somebody and say, I'm looking for this particular person? Anybody you recommend? They say,
oh, yeah.
Right here?
I might be interested. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Definitely.
That's fascinating. So what are the things, does you work both obviously locally and you work on a more national scale? What are some of the things that you've been noticing just nationally? I'm always curious because we always obviously see the job market from a financial perspective, economic perspective. How many people are employed? How many people are looking? What's the turnover? What are some of the things you're seeing on the ground on a personal perspective in this job market? Yep.
So I did start with Charlottesville-based companies, but that has expanded. There's companies that I've worked with nationally. I tend to work with companies that are smaller, so considered a small business, so sub 150 employees, so 1 to 150, which I guess is considered a small business in the grand scheme of things. But I am definitely seeing a candidates market right now. I guess just like in real estate, when you have a buyer's market, right. I am seeing a candidates market. And what that means is there's a lot of options for candidates. Believe it or not, if you're out there and you are looking for a job, there are options. And I'm seeing that a lot of candidates are getting offers from my clients, but these candidates have options. And so what that means is a company has to be, if a company likes someone, they have to act quickly. That's something I'm definitely seeing, and I've had clients that kind of, there's times when it's not a candidate's market and you can kind of be very selective and kind of take your time in making a decision, but these days I'm seeing candidates that have multiple job offers and they can pick the one that they want. And I think that an employer often thinks that it's the salary that's going to get them, but I've had scenarios where my candidate chose my client who was offering a lower salary, and I've also lost it to a lower salary.
Interesting.
And it's because of other intangibles like remote or hybrid options is one thing, just location and just company culture. I think candidates recognize that it's not just the money. You don't always have to offer the highest salary if you offer other benefits, culture elements. And a big thing candidates are looking for is mentorship. They want to know that there's opportunities in the company to grow, that they're going to be developed and cultivated. And then on the candidate side, I guess the tip would be, and the company side is being open to career changing. I'm a career changer. I'm proud of it. And I think that what that takes, sometimes I was a banker for 12 years, and I reinvented myself. And all it took was one job to now be known as a recruiter and not a banker. And so what that took within myself is knowing myself well enough to know what skills I have that are transferable to another industry, believing that I belong in that industry, and then selling myself basically as, having those skills. And so it's a candidate being able to look at their skills differently and saying, man, where else can I apply these? And then it's also a company being willing to consider candidates that maybe weren't in their industry experience, but they have the soft skills that they want.
So almost like sort of rethinking how you approach both selling yourself and a company hiring someone away from what did you do before to what are you capable of doing? Like what
who are
inside
you?
you exactly?
Yeah, who are you? What are you about? Where do you want to go? Are you, yeah.
I was going to say, because I remember there was a time in Wall Street where, they weren't necessarily looking for people that came out of MBA school. They were looking for people that came out of the different areas, right? And only because they wanted fresh ideas. Now, do you find yourself in certain circumstances where companies are doing that to you, where they say, okay, we're a technology company, but we don't really need somebody that knows this particular technology. We want new ideas, so we want somebody from the arts department or something like that. Is that happening? Do you see that?
Yeah, I have seen some of that. When you were talking, I thought of an example, and I'm blanking on it now, but I see companies that want someone without experience because they want to train them their way.
Okay.
So I do see that.
Yeah.
I remember there was a time when that was very big financially speaking.
Exactly.
Because so many MBAs would come out of their business school saying, well, this is the way that you approach investment and finance. And then the larger company would say, oh, now I have to retrain them.
That's right.
Sometimes
exactly.
unlearning something is much more difficult than learning something. It's very true.
That's right.
Yeah.
It can be a
convincing somebody that what they learned in college was no good.
Everything your professor at Darden taught you, we don't do here anymore. It's like, now what do I do?
I guess that's what I love about entrepreneurship. I believe I have an MBA in business. I don't have it on paper formally, but the experience that I've had in, professionally and also through books that I've read and different mentors that I've had, I believe you can get a real live equivalent to that through application and learning and studying people and, that kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely, because it's the experience. Like there's education, but experience is its own form of education.
Absolutely.
And when you're thrown into the fire of entrepreneurship, you have to learn very quickly all the things that go into a business that keep it afloat, that may not necessarily have to do on paper with what it is you actually do. Just all the behind the scenes that goes into being an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
Is that something that you've enjoyed, that whole aspect of it?
The creative side of it? Yeah, I have. And even growing a team, I have people that I contract to work for me and just being able to, I've had an opportunity to coach and train. One gentleman I work with really doesn't have recruiting experience, but he's talented, and it's been fun to help coach him and kind of view it as, can I position him? I get to be in one of those employers now that I'm helping. You know what I mean?
Right.
Can I help him be successful and, one day own his own company, and another thing is I'm very collaborative in my mindset to recruiting. There's a lot of really phenomenal recruiting firms here in Charlottesville, and I don't view them as my competition. I think that there's more than enough business for everybody, and I look for ways sometimes to collaborate with these companies. And so same thing with employees. I would want them to grow and develop and move on and do what's best for them. And so I think that, yeah, so it's kind of cool to be kind of an employer in that sense too, not just, I mean, I'm a solopreneur, but also being able to have other people that work with me.
Absolutely.
That's a healthy approach. I mean, one of the things that sometimes you always find is that people always find other companies in their business as their competitors, right? But in reality, what we always talk about is that pie is very, very large, right? And so you can't look at them as your competitors. Sometimes you have to look at them as your partners, right? Where you're trying to achieve something, and maybe you can help them and they can help you, right? And there's enough business out there for everybody, right?
Yep.
So because when you start thinking of competitors, it's just a different approach to business, right?
You know what it is? It's a open hand. I have an open hand approach to business, not a grabbing. Like,
exactly.
When I've been open handed, I don't make the decisions based on money. I don't make it based on what's best for me. I don't know if you've ever read the book The Go-Giver. I highly recommend it.
Go-Giver.
Yeah. But it's a mentality of, if I do what's best for my clients, if I do what's best for the companies, I get paid a percentage of salaries, but I do not make any decisions based on that. You know, I do what's best for the companies and the candidates, and it'll work out for me in the end. And
that really
and
is
it's
the way to
that way
grow
with
the
partnership
business.
too, with other recruiting firms. It's, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's the way to grow. Just as an entrepreneur, right? Your long-term success, and our long-term success as entrepreneurs is: are we providing a good service? And if you do that, then eventually you will get paid. But if you try to, the catch is to not think of it as, I have to get as much as I can at the beginning, because then if the service is lacking, the long-term future isn't there. Yeah, maybe short-term there's some gains, but the long-term isn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've talked about that all the time. And it's one of the nice things about, entrepreneurship and small companies is really the service side, right? Because when you can, in the sense with large companies, especially in the public arena, their bottom line is what's the profit so that the stock goes up in value, right? I mean, that's what their goal is. And so sometimes that service isn't quite as good as it should be because they're, like you said, there's push. What have you done today? Did you call anybody today? Have you done anything today? And so the push is there just to bring in clients. While when you're an entrepreneur in your small business, you're not thinking of that way. Obviously, yes, you want clients, but you're thinking long term, I want to make sure that I provide a service that other people don't provide, right? And that people can benefit from. And sometimes that takes a little longer, but in the long run, it's a feel good on both sides, and that's important.
Yeah.
I mean, we mentioned a little bit on the employer side, some tips given this market. What would you say on the employee side? Things to think about, or I should say the job seeker side, because they may not necessarily be with their future employer. Things that you're seeing or that they should be thinking about in this market. Yeah.
Let's see. I think that they should know what they want, what's important to them in a company. I did a talk for Disrupt HR on picking your 40-hour partner, so picking your boss, basically. And I think that, a boss can make or break your experience. And so I think knowing what's important to you in a company so that you can communicate that, and you can also evaluate options. Does this company have this or do they not? And what are you willing to negotiate and what aren't you? Is a good tip, as well as being open to different opportunities. Maybe, I think this is pretty interesting. With the financial firm I worked for, they did some research and found that men will apply for a job if they only qualify for 60% of the job qualifications, whereas women will only apply if they hit 80 to 90% of the job qualifications. Wow. And so I always encourage women to apply, and being on the employer side, I know that an employer puts their kind of ideal list of what they want, but some of those bullets on a job description, they'll negotiate for the right person. They put them on there because that's what they want, but there might be some of those things that are more important than other things. And so I think that male or female, but certainly women out there, if you don't feel like you hit all the items, but you feel like you would be good for the job, apply. You have nothing to lose by applying, And then another thing is network. Try to utilize your network. You can offer to take someone to coffee and pick their brain about a company or an industry or how they got into it. And there might be some connections because people want to help people that they like. And if you show genuine interest in someone, how they've gotten to a point in their career, they may make some connections for you, And so I think networking is significant. You can get very far in life that way. But it's not just taking, it's giving back as well. If someone wants to network with you, being willing to make those connections and whatnot. But I think you can very strategically utilize your network, and I think it's okay to ask for what you want. Ask for a connection, or ask for, do they know, do they have any ideas for you of how to get into a certain company or get into a certain industry? So
it reminds me of the old maxim from Benjamin Franklin way back when he said, one of the best ways to make a friend, you often assume that the best way to make a friend is to do them a favor. He said, no, one of the best ways to make a friend is to ask them for a favor. Because people love being generous and giving you a favor. And with the knowledge that, they may one day ask you for a favor and you'll return the favor. But just interesting when you said that, I'm like, to just do that networking and say, hey, can I pick your brain? And you'll be surprised how many people would say, I appreciate that you want to do that. Not, now I have to give them all this free advice. People actually respond positively to that.
And then send a thank you card after and show that appreciation, and give them follow-up and how their advice helped you. That's how you develop a long-term relationship, not short-term, I got this from you, but man, I appreciate your help. This is what this did for me. Thank you for helping me get to this point in life, and just showing that appreciation for people as well.
And the other thing, I always remember my good friend, Dan Jensen, I always used to pick his brain because he's a marketer, right? And I used to pick his brain all the time. And I said, how do you do it every day? You go out there. I mean, you have to. He says, it's very simple. He says, I already know the answer is no. So I can't fail anymore, right? Because the answer is no. So there's only upside. And I think as people, we're always afraid that we're going to be rejected. So it was like, I'm not even going to apply for that because they're going to say no to me. But no, the it's like,
you don't apply, the answer is
exactly. It's already no, right? So it's like, let me apply. Who knows? Maybe
Another
I
book,
get it.
Go for No.
Go for No.
It's very short. I'm a reader.
I like that.
So that's good.
Before I let you go, very important, how can people get in touch with you, whether companies or job seekers?
Yeah,
what's the best way to get in touch with you?
So I have a new refreshed website live this week. So my website is CVille Capital, CAPITAL.com. And there is there's a form on there where you can get in touch with me either as a candidate or a company. And I think LinkedIn is a great way to get in touch with me. So Hope McCutcheon, obviously, is my name on LinkedIn, and I'll connect with you back. So that's a great way to stay connected.
Absolutely. And
Is there an age limitation on that?
An age limitation. I just want to thank, we got some people watching, Danielle Bush, John Smith, Daniel Barfield, Dwight Sweat. Thanks for watching.
Nice. Thanks, guys.
the interview today. Hope, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much. Thanks for
so
inviting me.
informative. I've learned so much.
This is
I
good.
didn't know before.
Thank you, guys.
Very helpful.
Made it easy.
So fantastic. No, wonderful. Thanks so much for coming on, and we'll definitely have you back.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And happy holidays.
Thank you. Same to you.
That was fantastic. So as we do our little swap-a-roo here of guests, just I always love people who are passionate about what they do, but also just so informed, so knowledgeable about their field.
And that's what we get all the time here, right?
Exactly.
I mean, and that's, like I said a million times, this is why I enjoy this more and more, because in addition to me learning, right? I mean, people out there really get to learn about what they do and opportunities for them. So
absolutely. I mean, that's the goal. That's the goal. And of course, we have another person who's really passionate about what they do here, which we always love when he comes on, and that is Ian Glomski, the founder of Vitae Spirits. Ian, thanks so much for joining us again this morning.
Hi, Ian.
It's a pleasure as always.
Always so much fun to have you on. And we say that regardless of the fact that you bring us something good every time.
I'm an easy sell that way. I get invited back a lot. So.
Exactly. We're not just saying that because you brought us a little something.
Hey, that's what we call ahead of time. Is there anything good out there?
Do you have anything that you can bring to the show? But so, I mean, first off question, you have something beautiful to do there. What's new with Vitae in this holiday season?
I'm trying to think. It's always a busy season. Like, and usually December is our big month. Unfortunately, this year, though, it's a long, complicated story, but this is the second year in a row that we've had Black Friday canceled on us. We can't do sales without the state basically sanctioning it. And so that's at all ABC stores had no Black Friday specials this year, which means we're not allowed to either. And so in years past, Black Friday is our single largest sales day of the year. And so...
So is this something new?
They basically, so what the deal is this is what the ABC told me, because I was mad and contacted them about this,
I can't blame you.
was simply that they have such low inventories right now of major products because of supply chain problems. They thought, in a sense, it'd be bad marketing and disingenuous to have sales. People walk in the door, and then their favorite thing is not on the shelf. And so I'm like, I have huge inventories, I want to move. But it's a large system, and under normal circumstances, we can only do sales that are a month long. We can't do a one-day sale. And so if I wanted to do Black Friday, I would have to do it from the beginning of November until the end of November. And that's not that special. It's not like a single day event and everything. Yeah. So I don't mean to come out here and complain all the time, but
this is a great place for people to know about how this works behind the scenes, because they may sit there and say, "Oh, why didn't he have a sale this year?" And to know that.
And so I tried to do a thing. My intention was something I could control is kind of like freebies. So I was going to do like free shot glass when you buy a bottle or something like that. It ends up I'm not allowed to connect freebies with the sale of alcohol. So all I did, I was like, first 20 people that walk in the door, you'll get a free tasting or something like that. So I just can't. It's tough to adapt.
Wow.
Under
so you can't do any of that? Nothing?
No, it's pretty nuts.
Only because there's just a tiny bit of alcohol in there.
That's what it is? Yeah. If you go above 20% alcohol, we go into a whole different legal kind of architecture from beer and wine. 20% alcohol is basically where all those things switch. So
that's so interesting. But I think it's important because I think sometimes it's easy to forget that there are decisions made in your industry that don't come from you. It's not like Ian is being a cheapskate. He doesn't want to give us.
And that's what I worry about. That people perceive it as that. And a lot of breweries and wineries and stuff. When you kind of do collaborations with people, you give them a couple bottles, as a thank you. But I don't own any of these bottles. They're not mine to give away. The state owns them. So people think I'm a cheapskate. And when I have board meetings and stuff like that too, my board's always coming up with all these great ideas. I'm like, can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. And so it gets frustrating.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. But I know you have some...
The idea of creativity in this case isn't other than in creating great drinks and great bottles, it just doesn't help you.
It's kind of learning how to weasel through the system.
Weasel, I like that.
to get something done despite the system.
In some ways, it forces you to be even more imaginative. To say, how can I have this great idea, how can I also achieve it?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fantastic. So, you have some incredible new things that you have with you.
And so this is a seasonal, and this is a very popular seasonal. This is our Damsom Gin, technically liqueur, because there's a little sugar added to it. But it's kind of based on the British tradition of sloe gin, which basically at the end of the summertime, they pick their sloe plums, which are tart, which are quite tart, but that's what they're kind of aiming for. Oh, sorry.
There you go.
A little more. There you are.
And so what they do, they basically soak in gin these sloe plums. And it becomes a kind of a magenta colored thing that is basically ready around the holiday season. So it's associated with the holidays. We can't grow sloe plums in North America because I guess they spread an agricultural disease, so they're not allowed here. But another closely related plum, the Damson Plum, is kind of like the plum of Virginia. That's kind of like, you see Damson Plum jams, all that type of stuff. And so I basically go to Dickey Brothers Orchard out on Crabtree Falls Highway, and I get Damsons from them. There's only 2 commercial growers in the state, and one of them happens to be in Nelson County. Nice. And so however many he grows, that's what I grab. And so that's a limited quantity. So we tend to have maybe 300 or 400 bottles per year, and they usually sell out within a month or 2. And so it's a very popular thing, and people, like I said, kind of have this tradition of having it around the holiday season and everything. But it's basically our normal gin, our modern gin, that we steep plums in for 2 months. Kind of all the color and flavors come out of it. This year, every year we improve our production process a little bit more. And this year I got basically a wine press, kind of one of those wooden basket things. And you crank it down, so I get more juice out. So this year it's a lot darker. And actually, so it was a lot more tart actually than previous years. I had a little sugar to offset that tartness. But yeah, every year we get a little bit better, and it tastes a little bit better, and we get a little bit more, and it's a fun thing.
This is the kind of thing that goes with the Christmas pudding, I suspect, right?
Yeah, and we're scheduled to the official release is next Thursday, so December the 9th. Yeah, yep.
Because I mean, it really does. It gives you that warm. When you think of plums and like liqueurs, it gives you that warm feeling of settling down at night.
Yep.
You've got your little cordial glass.
Yep.
You pour yourself a little.
And this is a little bit lower alcohol than that. Actually, this is the lowest alcohol product that we produce right now, and it's only 60 proof or 30% alcohol. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit lower, but so that means you can hang out with it a little bit longer.
You can have two. You can have two glasses.
Is it time to do a little pouring as we're talking about that?
Exactly.
Sorry.
So I'm interested. So you're telling me you literally buy all the plums from this orchard to do this?
Close to it. I've actually had some people like a little bit mad at me for doing that.
I don't get to eat this plum.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, but then after they taste it, they'll be glad that you got the plums first.
In honesty, too. The Dickey Brothers has recognized that there's a growing demand for Damson plums. So they planted I don't know what the number is, 100 plum trees a couple years ago, and they just got their first couple plums coming off of it. And it's not Damson plums. The nursery messed up.
Oh, man.
And so they're a couple years behind on their expansion and everything. So it's a little bit of a mess. So
poor guys.
Yeah. But cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. I think you'll like it.
Oh, it smells good.
Wow.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah, it really is.
Neat.
Yeah.
I've never had anything like this.
I love the tartness. Because you don't often get that. Usually the
first
just go full sweet.
Yep, exactly.
This one has that little tartness.
Yeah.
It lasts in the tongue for a long time.
For a long time.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever eaten Damson plum straight. They're often not eaten as hand plums because they're so tart. And that's why they're good in jams and pies and all that type of stuff, where you kind of add sugar into it. But they have
are they
amazing.
Small,
they're probably a little bit smaller than a golf ball, I would say. It varies from year to year a little bit. And honestly, we put batch numbers on everything because from year to year, the fruit actually does vary too. So last year was our smallest batch of it. So we got very little fruit because there was a late frost, which means there were less fruit per tree, but that means more energy was put into each individual plum. So the plums were amazing, but there was very little of it. And so I think we had 180 bottles instead of the normal 300 or something. So that one, I think that sold out in 3 weeks or something.
Wow.
So, but
you gotta move quickly if you want this for the holiday season. It doesn't last that long.
Yeah.
But it really is. It gives you. Maybe it's because I associate in my mind plums, the flavor of plums with the holidays. Just our mom puts the plums into
puddings
Thanksgiving
and stuff,
stuffing. She'll put plums into the turkey and we'll have them. But just the flavor of it just reminds me of the holidays. Great. It's like you did it,
it does.
And it triggers those memories and that sensation.
Well, it's kind of got a little bit of the kind of the magenta red holiday kind of look to it and everything.
It does look beautiful in the glass.
Yeah,
it does. It has a certain I do think the look of something is also important. It has that festive look.
Yeah,
warm color, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And like I said, the flavor lasts. It's just nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a little more.
That's beautiful. Ooh, that's fantastic.
So this is going on sale a week from now?
Yep, next Thursday. And we do on releases of new products. We always do free tastings. So if you walk in, you get a little free tasting of it too, if you're interested. So
you mean they let you do that?
We are allowed to give free tastings.
Okay.
Yeah, it used many years ago it was only free smellings. We couldn't actually put a glass, put a little screen over it so you could smell it, but you couldn't actually drink it.
Oh Lord!
at least that's moved into the 21st century.
Yes, exactly.
At this point, I mean, speaking of just the beautiful festive things, I know one of the major things happening this weekend that you can enjoy some of these tastings, and maybe you can't buy this until next week, but is the First Street Holiday Fair.
That's right, and that's what so that's happening this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay.
I should say right up front that Linnea from Darling, essentially this is her baby. Like she's the blood, sweat, and tears of this event. And really, I helped out behind the scenes a little bit, getting like permits and stuff like that. So a lot of the organizing was done by Linnea, and so she deserves the credit for a lot of this. And so there's a lot of stuff going on. She's pulled together over 20 craft vendors, kind of like people that build stuff. So we have like, I brought a little cheat sheet.
Oh, fantastic.
But so we have sugarloaf alpacas. So I'm assuming it's like things perhaps that are knit or something like that from alpaca fur. There's where'd it go? Minerals and Mystics. There's Mary Jo Accessories. There's Ella Rowe Jewelry. So there's jewelry makers. All these people are people that produce stuff. We have food too. Sombreros is going to be there, as well as Posh Fairy Floss, which is like high-end gourmet cotton candy. And she does all these kooky flavors and everything like that. And we have another food vendor, which I don't personally know, but Bumblebee Creations is another food vendor that we'll have there too.
Fantastic.
And there's actually events planned during the day too. So do you guys know Ludwig Kuttner by chance?
Ludwig Kuttner, no.
He's a Charlottesville character that you should meet, but he's gonna be Santa Claus. And so he's kind of a dude. He's already like pretty white with beard and hair and everything like that. But he's gonna put on the costume, and they're
So
gonna.
you can even bring the kids and have them meet Santa.
Yeah, and so it's gonna be a photo booth and everything with Ludwig the Santa Claus and everything. And hopefully kids aren't listening. That I just gave away that he's not the real Santa. But
he works for Santa.
Yes, that's right.
As every kid knows, the mall
That's right.
Santas
He's going to get a
work
1099.
for Santa.
He'll get a 1099 or something next
Exactly.
spring. So from Santa.
I just remember that we watched Prancer, and as every little child knows, does the kids they're clever enough to know it's not Santa, but the next step is they realize he works.
Well, it's a direct line to
right.
the
Santa,
big guy.
Santa can't be everywhere. He sends out his assistants.
Right, exactly. So Santa Claus photo booth is from noon to 2. Lily Graciela is going to be the music person.
Lily Graciela,
Lily.
Lily DeRay, yes, we're a big fan. So Lily
good.
Graciela is now her performing artist name, but she's been on the show
okay.
before, so
Really?
she's fantastic.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, she knows it's
Graciela.
brand new. She under Ciela Creative Commons, Ciela Creative House, I should say, which is her like creative branding and her album, like her record recording company. She does as Lily Graciela. That's her middle name.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Graciela.
Yeah, that's the name that I was told.
Yep. No, exactly.
And she's from noon to 1 p.m. So
she is fantastic.
She's in the middle of the day.
That'll be fun.
Yep. And I'd say the other kind of fun event that's going on is the Hive. Do you guys know the Hive?
The Hive, no.
So the Hive is kind of like it's a studio where you come in and you do crafting yourself. They kind of give you directions, and they give you all of the kind of the materials and everything, all the way from like kids all the way up to adults. And so what they're basically having, like at their booth, they're going to have do-it-yourself crafting. So they're going to have stuff there so you can kind of make your Christmas ornaments, or I don't know what their plan is specifically, but that's kind of the idea behind it too.
Much
So
fun.
yeah, so and this is all going to be super fun. Vitae Spirits is making hot caramel cider with or without a little rum in it.
I was about to say, is there a little rum in that hot caramel cider?
Yeah, so we're going to have a big thing of spiced caramel apple cider, and if you want some booze in it, we'll do a little shot afterwards. So there's plenty to go around for teetotalers and kids also.
For everybody. There's
Yeah,
a
there are
little
lots of
something
things
for
to keep
everybody.
you warm.
Yeah.
That's right.
It is supposed to be rather nice weather, though. I think it's supposed to
Yeah.
be like a sunny, low 60s day. So
That's perfect.
No
Yeah.
reason
That's perfect.
Not to go out and enjoy it. I mean, it's good food. I love the do-it-yourself crafting part.
Yeah.
I mean, and plus, what I love is that Linnea's put together, like, this is so many artisanal crafts. So it's not like you're going to a big bot store and there's a bunch of little knickknacks you can pick, but they're all made far away and there's thousands and thousands of them. This is like something that someone put handmade work into this.
I'm making sure I get away from that hot cider and go and do my shopping too. So
Absolutely. I mean,
and that's kind of like Linnea's thing. Like, I'm not sure if you've ever been in her shop, but like it's all curated, super neat stuff. And so I think she kind of has like those relationships to some degree established because of Darling, and this is just another way to extend it into something bigger.
absolutely. And supporting like small local artists.
Yeah.
So I mean, when you're going there, it's not, yes, you're getting your Christmas gifts, you're having a great time, you're enjoying some of that hot apple cider with or without rum, but you're also knowing that like what you're spending there is supporting local arts.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
It's staying in the community.
That's the beauty of
I
it.
would say probably 99% of the people that you go and buy stuff from, that person's hands are the ones that put that thing together one way or another. So.
And they're special gifts, right? Because
yeah.
you can't just go to any
Exactly.
store. You can't go to Amazon and buy it. You basically have to buy from the person who created it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
Exactly. When you gift
That's a
it,
great
it's
idea.
knowing that you took the
Yeah.
time to find something
That's
that
right.
was personally made, personally curated at a beautiful little local fair.
Yep, and that's love.
That
A
is.
little bit of love in each of them.
Exactly. as we know from there. So, I mean, that's
That's a great event. I'm glad that
That's a
happened.
great
That's
event.
excellent.
I'm so glad.
Those are the kind of things that happen here.
Yeah.
And this is the time of season where everybody wants to go
And
out
the holiday
enjoy.
fair has happened before. It was before kind of Vitae Spirits was on the scene. So like I attended, but I wasn't involved in any shape or form. And this is kind of like the first rebirth of it in a year or so. So because it did get shut down because of the pandemic last year. So, but yeah.
Which is fantastic. I
Yeah.
mean, just so many new things on offer. So it's from 10
Yep.
in the morning
10 a.m.
Till 6?
till 6 p.m.
till
Wow.
6 p.m. So I mean, plenty of time.
And plenty of time for everybody. to
Yeah.
go.
You can come out in the morning.
Yep.
You can come out around lunchtime.
Yep. And it's kind of like, it's still overlapping a little bit with the city market and stuff like that too. So it's a little bit of a big conglomeration of things coming together.
Forgot about that. That's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I do know. So I've never been to Darling Boutique, but I know that I know of it because they have just such a wonderful reputation.
Yeah, Linnea she's probably one of the best social media people I've ever seen. She's awesome. Like, she's really good at all that stuff. So
So it's a great reputation and so many things just to experience and enjoy. And I know one of the things. So I mean, I'm guessing soon there will be. Vitae's going to be switching over to some December festive cocktails.
Yeah, so we normally switch our cocktails seasonally. We aim to do it approximately at the equinox or the solstice. The solstice is on the 21st, so it's a little bit close to Christmassy time. So we're probably going to push it off into a little bit after Christmas. But yeah, that's what we'll be breaking out, kind of like our warm cocktails, our kind of like heavier duty, more oomph, like warming you type cocktail. I'm thinking about doing coquito.
Oh.
Do you know coquito?
No.
Well, go ahead.
I was wondering if you guys have a family recipe. I'd love to know. But
I do not. But
But
No,
it's
I
kind
don't
of
either.
kind of like, I'm told it's the Puerto Rican
Yes, it is.
eggnog equivalent, kind
Yes.
of.
Yeah,
And so I wasn't sure if Cuba had anything kind of like equivalent
Cuba
or
have one?
whatever. But
Not that, no, I've never heard of it when I was growing up, but I know it is more of a Puerto Rican.
yeah, but it's like eggnog, but it has coconut milk in it. It has condensed milk. It's just a little bit. There's a little bit of tropical twist to it, I would say, the coconut aspect of it. So, but lots of cinnamon and kind of.
It's a little
spices like
sweeter.
that. Yes, it's quite sweet.
sweet as dirt.
Yeah.
I won't complain about being sweeter.
I know you wouldn't.
as you suspect.
Yeah.
So you're going to do something with that?
I think so, because it's the way that this works for us is all of our employees mess around with cocktails at home. So I have my homework to do every night developing this, and my wife is my guinea pig, sometimes good, sometimes bad. But we all come up with our ideas, and then we have like a week or two before the actual like opening day, we all come in with our ideas, we make them, whatever's best goes onto the menu. And so there's a certain amount of just business balance I do. Like I don't want to over-represent a single spirit. So there's a little bit of that shifting around. But yeah, it's kind of a competition. And that's what I was saying earlier today is that I didn't have a single cocktail on the autumn menu. So I really got to up my game to like make sure I get at least something.
So you're in on this competition.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I'm like the head of the company. I
You
have
got to
be
get
able
your
to,
wife ready. Morning and afternoon and evening. There you are. One drink.
You're not going out today. You're
That's right.
drinking all
You've got a job to do.
I need you to drink all day. Which is, I mean, it's the perfect. The tours that you make, the spirits you make, are just so perfect for mixing them. Because I know even we were chatting a little before the show that my brother Nicholas, ever since Michael Lamont from the Alley Light came on our show, he's been reading the book and trying to figure out, all right, what can I do with Vitae spirits and make a mix of cocktails, especially with the conifer
Yes.
spirit, to what can I do to make something because the quality is so high and there's such an interesting flavor that you have with your spirits that it's worth that extra effort to say, all right, how do I make this shine in a cocktail?
And that's what I keep that in mind. So like our liqueurs, so a liqueur is a type of booze that you have to add at least 25 grams per liter sugar to call it liqueur. And that's all I add because I like to keep the sugar relatively low, both because like just aesthetically I'm not like a super sweet person, but if you want to add it to a cocktail, you're not bringing in all the sugar with it at the same time. Then you can control what sugars you add, like what types. It could be honey, maple syrup, whatever. But also you can just add sugar up to your taste rather than like having it by default, all the sugar going in there, making it super sweet. And so that's why a lot of our liqueurs, I minimize the sugar influence so that you have the control in a cocktail about how sweet you want to make it.
Exactly.
And sometimes the sugar will hide a little bit of the flavor,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that's the
I'm thinking
important
of
thing.
the coffee.
The coffee
we
liqueur?
got ourselves a bottle of
Yeah.
the coffee maple syrup.
Oh yeah, the
liqueur.
barrel-aged coffee
The barrel
liqueur.
aged coffee liqueur,
Yeah.
and just probably also because of the fact that it's not overly sweet, the flavor of the maple is just so strong
Yeah,
in it.
yeah.
That after you have that first initial taste of coffee, but then the maple syrup taste isn't hidden by sweetness.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
right.
there in the flavor of the
Yeah.
spirit.
Yep, absolutely. That's what we strive for.
They do a great job. They really do.
Fantastic
you know?
job of it.
I mean, this has been wonderful. This has been delicious, right?
you.
And,
As always,
I know the one with the coffee
And
is.
I will add it to your growing bar stash over there.
We
So.
appreciate that. We appreciate that. We call it the Fortification Center for Nervous Guests. Is the official name of that section of the set.
I guess every time I come, I just have to be a little nervous.
You just have to make sure that
That's
you're
right.
nervous.
Right.
You can
Gotta
fortify
calm those
yourself.
nerves.
Exactly. Ian, always such a
Absolutely.
pleasure to have you on. And
Absolutely.
we're so excited for what's coming up with Vitae.
Yeah.
So excited for what's coming up this Saturday.
This Saturday, that's
First
right.
Street Fair from 10 a.m. to
Yeah,
6
it's
p.m.
gonna be fun.
So many things. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
We look forward to seeing all of you there. So make sure you take the time to come out to it. But thank you so much for joining
Absolutely.
us.
Thank you. Yeah, this has been great. It's going to be a lot of fun on
It
Saturday,
is.
right?
It's going to be a blast. I mean, so many amazing things that are going to be there, and just to take your family and have a beautiful time.
It's what you look forward to really during this, in particular during this time of year, because the Christmas season, right, the holiday season, where gift giving is so much part of us, because sometimes giving is even better than receiving, and to be
Exactly.
able to go out there and see what people are doing with their own hands, with their own
Exactly.
creativity. Around town and enjoying a little bit of the warmth of Vitae spirits.
Exactly.
That'd be great.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. So we really encourage y'all to go out and enjoy the First Street Holiday Fair this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on First Street. Not difficult to find.
That's
First
right,
Street,
exactly.
It's right there in the name, First Street Holiday Fair.
First thing
on
to do
First Street.
Saturday.
There you go. First thing to do on Saturday morning after you wake up. But be sure
After you have your café con leche, right?
Café con leche. Exactly. So just really appreciate both our guests today. Fantastic guests. Learned so much. Had a beautiful time. Just really appreciate their coming on. Really appreciate being here on the I Love CVille Network set. Judah behind the camera, as always. And I know the Judah cam will slowly be making its more and more appearances. So
That's right.
next time we gotta have to get him on this way. When I thank Judah, he can wave to the
Exactly.
to the camera. It is. I know. We've set it up. So we have to have
So
him.
there it is.
Yes, it's right
There
there.
it is.
See it right there.
Hi, Judah.
The Judah cam, and then he can wave.
Judah doesn't like the Judah camera. We're using it.
There he
go.
is. All
There we
right.
go. Thank you, Judah, as always, for the great work he does. He does fantastic
Oh,
work behind the
outrageous.
camera
Yeah.
to make sure that this all comes off the way it does. Love all our guests for watching. Johnny Ornelas, Vanessa Parkle, thanks for watching the show today. Really appreciate you both. And of course, just really appreciate all our sponsors, Emergent Financial Services, Vitae Spirits, just a really important sponsor, GBS Financial Services, Cristel, Noel State Farm Agency, CVille Picnic, also doing some indoor picnics this time of year.
Oh,
so
wow, okay.
we'll be sharing some of that news, and we have been on the feed. And of course, Ford Adelante. And just really appreciate being here on the set. Appreciate you, our audience. And we look forward to seeing you next week. We'll have two more great guests. We're going to have Craig Colbert from 12 Ridges Winery, as well as Jeff Camrath, the owner of Aqua CVille Hand Car Wash. So another two small local businesses
Super.
that we have here in the
Super.
area. So thank you all so much for watching. We look forward to seeing you next week. But until that time, we will see you. Hasta mañana.